NTV.
Welcome back to Morning at NTV, and thank you for staying with us. Our next conversation, we are going to be talking about protecting Uganda's animal breed. Do you know that the Animal Breeding Act was passed in 2001 and it's been in existence for 19 years? Did you know that? Well, we're going to be taking a look and more about that. The National Animal Genetics Resources Center, that is NAGRIC, and Data Bank manages 15 land ranches across the country in Chiruhura, Mbarara, Apak, Kabarole, Kayunga, Kamuli Pader, Buikwe, Bulambuli, Entebbe, Singo, and Kabale. Now, on these particular ranches, the agency does research on the improvement of animal breeds, and it tests it out here before they are introduced in the general public. However, there recently has been an outcry over the management of these ranches and theft of animal breeds, including a recent case where my next guest's boss, that is the Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industry, that is Mr. Sempija Vincent, was accused of taking animals from a ranch for slaughter at a party event. So we do have Dr. Charles Lagu, the Executive Director, NAGRIC, and he joins us right now. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Elbow? We do the elbow now.
Yeah.
Yes. Because I understand you just came back from Switzerland. Was it March 15th?
13th.
March 13th. Yeah. And we understand Switzerland is one of the countries that have been hit the hardest by the coronavirus. Before we head into the animal genetics, first tell me how safe you are during that flight, and when you touched down, what did you see?
Yes, there are reported cases of COVID in Switzerland, but in a region which was a bit far away, and the region where we are was Zollikofen, and COVID, there were no reported cases of COVID.
When you came back into the country, were you checked at Entebbe International Airport?
Definitely, they check. They take your temperature and they ask you specific questions. And also the government has done a very excellent job. They have put danger zone, country area, which are where you come from those countries, definitely you have to go for self-quarantine or they have to definitely check on you. But Switzerland is not part.
So Switzerland is not part of those countries, so you did not go under the 14 mandatory self-quarantine?
Yes, because what is also very important was the check of the instantly the temperature, and it was not among those. Yeah, its cases are just trying to come, and the region where we are was very, very okay, free. Yeah.
So we understand that your boss, that is Mr. Vincent Sempija, the Minister of Agriculture, did take some of these animals from the government or public ranch and took them to a for slaughtering at a party event. Is it custom for government officials to take animals from these public enterprises and use them for their own private encounters?
The NAGRIC and DB is mandated to guide comprehensive animal breeding program. It also manages the various livestock, cattle, chicken, pigs, goats in the various ranches. And for a very long time, we definitely, for like you indicated, 19 years, we are trying to make sure these animals improve and better quality aspects. So there are options. One of the options is to make sure that the high quality genetics filter and communities can access them. And of course this must comply with the Public Procurement Disposal Act. We have accreditation from the PPDA. They did one in 2014. We did one recently in 2017, accreditation, and there are options. So it is possible that one of the options will be corporate social responsibility. Another option is the disposal of these animals, breeding animals, and then another one is disposal of cull animals. Now, of course, we work as a team. At the time this took place, definitely, I was not we had somebody acting, and he took the management at that time, and is in a better position to explain under what circumstances. But we have those various options: social corporate responsibility, disposal of cull animals, those which do not now.
Corporate social responsibility, is that under the terms that Mr. Vincent Sempija used to get some of these animals to slaughter at a party event? Was that part of the CSR?
We have a broader framework. Of course, we are still trying to revive. For a very long time, as an institution, the mechanism to make sure that these animals improve and serve the people better, we have put measures in the last 2 years, because really we are also a bit new, about 2 years or so in the institution. But what we have done is to make sure these animals are revived, they are better. We shall then categorize them under breeding, and then there are those for culled, and then there are those which will then be multiplied to give also a stock, a breeding stock for the country. Now, as to whether this was taken under what category, by that time I'd gone for a regional meeting, and in the regional meeting we had left somebody acting and they took it. So we could definitely understand that probably they must have used one of the accreditation areas to be able to do. But this is not to say this is a regular occurrence. The regular occurrence is that on the approval of the board, disposal of animals can do, because there are some which you don't want, there are some which definitely have to go because they are old, or they have lameness, or they have different conditions. So there are those various options. And usually we leave that responsibility to our departments, the production and the breeding. The breeding have their targets, the production have their targets. So in the perspective of various options in terms of how these animals can be accessed, they fall under the units, but guided by the procurement and disposal.
So Mr. Vincent Sempija did nothing wrong by getting this cat from these ranches?
I will definitely, if they follow within the provisions of the accreditation, then definitely there must have been compliance to what is laid out. And as to that, we can always verify that. Yeah.
You also told us, Nation Media Group, that 2 square miles of Nshara have been taken. Ruhengeri has already lost 12 square miles, while Sanga Ranch has only lost 1. Encroachers are exploiting the shortage of manpower in these ranches to grab the land. What is happening, Dr. Lagu?
Yes, for a while, even before we have put reforms together with our political leaders, with our technical team, with the community and the media, where we say now it is important these government facilities, these are the only remaining government facility, these ranches. There are people who are, I could say, selfish. They have encroached on these government ranches in Nshara, in Ruhengeri, in Njeru. Njeru, you remember, is a very hot issue. The media brought it up. So, but our position is clear. As Nagrik, but also as a ministry, but also general public, is that it is important that these encroachers do not grab these government facilities. The good news is that we have reforms in terms of revitalizing these government ranches to make sure they serve the purpose for which they were set up. Training, breeding the animals, source of breeding, stock, research. When these students come, because they in the university, in the institutions, they have no access, they could go there, farmers can go and
do the research
and do the research and train hands-on. And you cannot do this in private establishment.
Indeed.
You only do it in government establishment. And also posterity, because in Inshara, in
Rushenjero.
yeah, and we are also conserving these precious indigenous animal genetic resources, like the Longhorn and Kole, like the East African Zebu, like the Mubende goats, and so forth, and the small East African goats. Now, if we don't preserve this, conserve this, they will be definitely extinct. And as a country, what shall we tell the generation that what have we been doing? So it is prudent that we must really collectively assert ourselves and say no encroachers, no land grabbers. This preserved government land should therefore really be left untouched and untampered with.
But Dr. Lagu, you understand very well that words or actions, by the way, speak louder than words. Actions speak louder than words. So in the interim, what actions are you implementing to ensure that you do away or remove these encroachers from this government land?
We are working very closely with the board now. We have a new board. We are working very closely with the ministry. We are working very closely with the security, the police, and they have given us very good support. So we have done, for the last 2 years, we have done a very good effort to evict some of these encroachers. Some of them definitely are very powerful. But
what do you mean very, very powerful?
Very powerful in the sense that they have power, they have influence. And
are we talking about government officials?
We are talking of some government officials.
Go ahead.
In Njeru, we have our land which is grabbed, and you find our staff are being threatened. They are being harassed. But I'm happy, at least the media has come out. Some of our leaders have come out to say no, that we can really not accept. We cannot really accept this. So in essence, where these people are using their influence wrongly, because you can use your influence correctly, but you're using your influence wrongly. You know this is a designated government. The government lands are known, the ranches are known, they have boundaries, and you are conniving. So in essence, we are saying no, let this be used not only to serve self-individuals, but the general public.
So that means we've been blaming the poor man, the poor individuals for nothing over the years, yet it's government officials that have been engaged in this unscrupulous activity of encroachment.
There are, in some of the ranches, there are some of the dubious characters, they also come, but we have done a very good job to make sure we evict them, and where our team, the management team at the farms, have been very, very keen, very assertive, they have been able to evict. That is why you see the animal numbers are really going up drastically now. In these farms, the animals even look better, the body condition scores are better, the animals are increasing, mortalities have reduced, so they are much better, because once you evict the encroachers, you give space for the government to have enough pasture, to have enough water, but to also minimize that interaction with the one of the community. So in essence, the continued effort, collective effort from the media, from the political leaders, to be able to assert and we grossly make sure we evict all these encroachers to pave way for the development of the animal industry from breeding and genetic improvement perspective is very pertinent.
Dr. Lagu, how has the continued encroachment on these ranches affected the breeding and conservation activities of Nagrek?
One is that when they bring the animals from the encroachers, they don't spray their animals as required, and they introduce ticks, and some of these ticks are very resistant ticks to parasites. They don't deworm properly, they bring in worms. Some of these worms definitely create what we call worm burden and affect our animals. They put a lot of pressure on our ranches, and the grazing pressure therefore diminishes the pasture, and therefore our animals don't have enough access to pasture. They bring in diseases. Some of them go as far as in the borders. You find the diseases like contagious bovine pneumonia, lumpy skin disease, off and so forth they bring. So in essence, they exert pressure on our ranches, and we can therefore, and also interference, for example, with our breeding program. When the bull from these ranchers escape, encroachers escape, you see, they go and interfere with our
encroachers like that man
like
right
that
there.
man, yes.
Go ahead.
Yes. So the bulls, their bulls escape and they distort our breeding program. So in essence, the encroachers around these government ranches is not good for our breeding program. Yeah.
But then we are not only dealing with the issue at the ranches. When you go to Isingiro district, you hinted on a very, very good subject. The people encroaching on the ranches are using harmful acaricides and other concoctions to spray ticks. Now, this is the same situation in Isingiro district. Some of the dairy farmers are using dangerous acaricides and other concoctions to spray ticks. But guess what is happening? These concoctions are affecting their livestock, causing blindness and other illnesses to the livestock. What is happening?
We have groups of known acaricides by the vets and by the industries. There are groups of, you call them pyrethroids. Cypermethrin is one of them. Now, and there are so many group of that. We have the group of the amidins. We have group of a combination of them. And then, so you have to stick on those classical groups. If there are group of pyrethroids, you have to stick to them. If there are group of amidins, you have to stick to them. You have group of organophosphorus. Supona is one of them. And the amidins, they include things like the norotraz, amitraz, bimitraz, and so forth.
But what is NAGRIC doing to do away with the use of such dangerous acaricides?
Now, the responsibility of regulating drugs, advising
National Drug Authority?
We know it is actually under the Ministry of Agriculture, but specifically under the Animal Health Unit, the Commissioner Animal Health, and they work closely with the veterinarians. So we must stick to these classical acaricides and not to mix. I know there were the episodes of resistant drug, the resistant acaricides, which definitely cause a lot of mortalities among the farmers.
So what should they do to arrest the situation as we wrap up?
They must work closely with the vets. We have veterinarians who are well trained in the district and the sub-county, because they understand the application, the mixing, and the change, because they have the science, they have the practice, and farmers will work closely. I know because of the liberalization of veterinary drugs, there's farmers who go and buy direct, but working with the vets. And this is an international practice. Under the international practice, the vets must guide.
The vets must guide. Let's leave it at that. Dr. Charles Lagu, the Executive Director of NAGRIC. At this juncture, I'd like to link to my reporter, Stephen Mbide, who is actually going to interview Mr. Chameleon. Yes, that is Mr. Mayanja right there. And he's going to be telling us about his ambitions to run for the mayoral seat. A very good morning once again, my brother Stephen Mbide. What